Hello class and welcome to chapter 2. In this lecture we're going to talk about human resource management and workforce management. I started this particular video off with the song Ease On Down the Road from the clip The Wiz, and in a sense it's a bit symbolic and it's appropriate because part of what we're going to be talking about in this lecture is how do you help employees ease on down the road? What happens when you end up doing massive layoffs and terminations and things like that for the organization? It's never a good thing. It's never something that a company or management wants to do. Typically, when we do mass layoffs or downsizing, as it may be put a bit more politically correct, or right sizing is another word that we use that's extremely politically correct. It basically means you're going to do mass layoffs. It's because the company is experiencing some type of financial or economic trouble. It could be that there's major economic shifts in the marketplace so that you're not selling as much product or whatever. You're not bringing in the revenue you used to, but you still have the same number of employees and you're still incurring the same amount of employee costs. So you need to take some steps to adjust that. And frequently what organizations do is they will engage in layoffs. It's one of the last things that they do, but when it needs to be done, it needs to be done. So what do you do when you have too many workers or employees? Well, here are 4 strategies that organizations engage in order to reduce their workforce. So 1, you could offer less hours. So keep the same number of people, but they're working less hours. The ultimate result is that you're paying people less money. You could do attrition or hiring freezes. Every organization is going to have its natural attrition. Attrition means when people leave the organization. It could happen for a number of reasons. People get fired for poor performance, they get sick, they quit, they find other opportunities and move to different organizations. As those people leave their position, you simply don't hire. So you wait for attrition to take place, but you have hiring freezes, which prevents organizations from hiring more people. So the organization kind of naturally begins to shrink. Voluntary separation programs. Here's where you may offer something like a early retirement option. For people who are of X age or have X number of years in the organization, you'll give them all their retirement benefits if they chose to accept an early retirement option. And the last one is just workforce downsizing, which is more brute force, where you just engage in laying off the number of people that you need to have laid off across the various departments that you need to have done. So when you are laying people off, there are a few things that you should consider. First off, you want to think about severance packages or severance benefits. Depending on the person, how long they've been in the organization, their tenure, their level within the organization, you may offer them severance benefits. Those benefits may vary depending on their position and seniority. Let me give you an example. Commonly, an organization may say, for every year you worked for us, we're going to give you 2 weeks worth of pay. So if you worked for 5 years for the organization, then you may get 10 weeks of pay. And you get that upon you're exiting the organization. They also offer you the opportunity for COBRA benefits, which refers to you have health insurance or health benefits. When you lose your job, you would also lose those health benefits. So what COBRA allows is for your medical benefits to be extended beyond your employment, completely optional should you choose to. It's short for Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. And it's a federal law that requires 20 organizations with 20 or more employees who offer health care benefits to offer the option of continuing this coverage even after a person may lose their job. Because it's the law, it's required even if you have no severance package, but you did have health care. One of the main benefits of severance packages to an organization is that when you agree to accept a severance package, so some financial payout in exchange for leaving the organization, it's important to note that they're going to ask you to sign a disclosure or a letter indicating that you won't sue them for any type of discrimination or any other claim that you may be able to think of that's employee related. Don't think that you're just being asked to leave the organization and they're paying you to leave. Really, they're covering themselves to make sure there's no legal lawsuits or liabilities that come out of them doing their mass layoffs. OWBPA, this is another government law. It stands for the Older Workers Benefits Protection Act. When an organization gives you a severance package and they ask you to sign documentation indicating that you won't sue for any form of violation of employee rights or discrimination, what this law says is that there's some people who are older who may not understand this, and they will sign away their rights and not realize that they actually were discriminated against. So under certain circumstances, these individuals can still go and file lawsuits against a corporation should something have been done inappropriately. Older Workers Benefit Protection Act, it has requirements that must be met in order for that claim to be released for people who are above a certain age. The last one we have here is the WARN Act. This is the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act. It's a federal law which protects employees and their families and communities by requiring employers with 100 or more employees to provide at least 60 days notice before doing mass layoffs or closing a plant or something along those lines. This way people can begin to search for other employment, to begin to keep continuity within their life, and it's not something that's hitting them completely unexpected. So we talked about what happens when we have too many employees. Let's talk about what happens when we have too few employees. So there's a talent shortage. Well, we think immediately, well, we should start hiring new employees. Well, we can do that. That definitely is a solution, but it's also an expensive solution. There could be cheaper options available. For one, you could offer overtime to your current employees. You could implement alternative work arrangements, maybe splitting the work up into different shifts. You can use contingent workers, so go to staffing companies, or a very popular use of contingent workers is during the holiday seasons when department stores hire on contingent workers just for that holiday period. Once the holiday period is over, the people automatically know that their job time is going to terminate. You can seek to reduce turnover, find out why people are leaving and try to stop that, try to encourage people who are leaving to stay. You could hire or bring back retirees. This is a great option because these individuals are already familiar with the company, the culture, the products, and they can come in and become productive again right away. Or you could outsource the work. This is where you find another organization or company to simply take on that work product. So you may outsource all of your accounting needs to an accounting firm. So now you don't have to worry about hiring accountants into your organization and doing it yourself. This slide here basically gives you a compare and contrast of what's done, or typical responses to talent surplus and responses to talent shortage. I'm not going to go through all of these. We've covered some of them in the previous slides, but I do advise you to take a moment, pause the video, and read through these and give a little bit of thought and consideration to each of them. That wraps it up for this lecture. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or please feel free to shoot me an email or to see me in class if we meet physically for class. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you next time.